Alien Queen rejected human peace offer. That was her death sentence. Humanity did not arrive in the galaxy loudly. There were no war fleets, no threats, no glowing weapons pointed at distant stars. Instead, human ships appeared quietly at the edge of known space, small compared to the massive structures built by older civilizations. Their hulls were plain, their designs practical, and their movements calm. Many species dismissed them at first. In a galaxy ruled by ancient empires and powerful queens, humans looked modest. That misunderstanding would not last. The queen of the Virelian Dominion ruled from a throne grown from living crystal deep within her capital world. Her species valued age above all else. The older the empire, the more rightful its rule. And the Virelian Dominion was old, older than most stars that humans had studied with their early telescopes. She was not cruel by her own standards. She simply believed in order. Every species had a place. Every place had a ruler, and rulers did not ask for permission. So when news reached her court that a new species called humans requested a formal audience, her first reaction was boredom. Another young race, she assumed. Another group seeking protection, trade favors, or mercy. Her advisors reviewed the data. Humans had expanded fast but not aggressively. They built alliances instead of empires. They negotiated instead of conquered. They preferred agreements over force. Weakness, many thought. Still, protocol mattered. The queen allowed the audience, more out of tradition than interest. The human envoys arrived without display. 3 figures stepped forward into the vast chamber, wearing simple attire that carried no symbols of rank beyond small, clear markings. They bowed not deeply but respectfully. Their posture was calm, their faces were open, they did not kneel. That alone caused whispers. The queen studied them with ancient eyes. She saw no fear, no challenge, only intention. The lead envoy spoke in a clear, steady voice, translated perfectly by the chamber's systems. "We come on behalf of humanity," he said. "We request peaceful cooperation and mutual recognition." The words were ordinary, but the room felt heavier. He continued, explaining slowly, carefully, as if every sentence mattered. Humanity proposed shared trade routes, scientific cooperation, and a formal agreement of non-interference. Borders would be respected. Emerging species under the Dominion would be given limited autonomy under new interstellar guidelines. No demands, no threats, only options. The queen listened without interruption. When he finished, silence filled the hall. Then she laughed. It was not loud. It was cold, measured, and final. "You speak of choice," she said, "of autonomy. These concepts are youthful. My Dominion has maintained order for millennia without such chaos." The envoy did not argue, he only nodded slightly. "We understand your perspective," he said. "That is why this offer is optional." That word caught her attention. Optional. The queen leaned forward. "You assume you have leverage," she said. "You assume your presence matters." The envoy met her gaze. "We assume nothing," he replied. "We only prepare." Her advisors stirred. The queen raised a clawed hand, silencing them. "Young species," she said, "often confuse caution with wisdom. You build slowly because you fear loss. We build permanently because we do not fear change." The envoy took a breath. "Then we will make one thing clear. This offer is not a request for protection. It is a notice of intent. We prefer peace because it benefits everyone." "And if I refuse?" the queen asked. The envoy paused, not for drama, not for fear, but for honesty. "Then we withdraw our involvement," he said. "Entirely." That answer disappointed her. No threats, no warning of fleets, no dramatic speeches, just withdrawal. She waved her hand. "Then go, take your fragile ideals with you. My Dominion does not bend to soft words." The envoys bowed again and turned to leave. Before exiting, the lead envoy spoke one final sentence, his voice calm and respectful. Peace was offered because it was kind. The doors closed behind them. The queen dismissed the meeting immediately. In her mind, the matter was over. Another weak species had shown its limits. The court returned to its routines. The galaxy continued as it always had. At first, nothing changed. Days passed, then weeks. Then the reports began. A trade hub near the Dominion's outer sector reported delays. Not failures, just delays. Human-managed logistics systems required updated compliance checks. Entire shipments waited in neutral space untouched. A minor inconvenience. Then a communications relay stopped receiving updates. The system still functioned, but certain data layers were no longer supported. Human engineers politely explained that maintenance agreements had expired. Strange, but manageable. Then one of the Dominion's client species submitted a formal request for renegotiation of its governance status. The request cited newly recognized interstellar statutes the Dominion had never acknowledged before. The Queen dismissed it. Then another species made the same request, and another. Each one referenced the same legal framework. Each one claimed the same rights. Each one stated the same justification, human-authored interstellar law. The Queen demanded answers. Her advisors searched archives. Trade records, diplomatic histories. What they found unsettled them. Over decades, quietly, patiently, humans had helped write the standards for trade, communication, navigation, and arbitration. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. Other species had adopted human systems because they were efficient, fair, and transparent. The Dominion had benefited from these systems without ever fully joining them. Until now. The Queen ordered the laws ignored, but laws, she learned, did not require belief to function. Trade partners began to hesitate, not because they feared humans, but because they feared instability. Human-backed agreements had become the backbone of interstellar trust. To break them meant isolation. One by one, neutral worlds reduced contact. The Queen still refused to see the pattern. Human ships did not appear, no fleets gathered, no weapons were aimed. Instead, the Dominion felt something far more unfamiliar. Silence. Messages took longer to arrive. Invitations to summits stopped coming. Collaborative projects quietly dissolved, not with anger, not with punishment, with polite regret. A human representative sent a short message to the Dominion's diplomatic office. Per our previous discussion, humanity is no longer involved. That was all. The Queen stared at the message longer than she cared to admit. For the first time in centuries, she felt uncertainty, not fear, but confusion. She had expected retaliation. She had expected resistance. She had not expected absence. Beyond her throne world, systems shifted. Minor species began questioning traditions they had never been allowed to question. Economies adjusted. Old power structures strained under new expectations. And still, humanity remained distant, watching, waiting, not for revenge, for consequence. Far away on a quiet human station, the envoys reviewed the same reports. They spoke softly. No celebration, no pride, only responsibility. One of them looked at the stars beyond the viewport and said, "She chose." And the galaxy, slowly and quietly, began to understand what that choice truly meant. Humanity did not announce the end. There was no final message sent across the stars, no declaration of judgment. The galaxy simply continued to move forward, and the Virelian Dominion slowly discovered it was no longer moving with it. At first, the Queen told herself this was temporary. Empires had weathered pauses before, trade shifted, alliances changed. Time always returned things to their proper order. She believed patience alone would restore balance, but patience did not bring back the voices that had gone quiet. The first real shock came when one of the Dominion's oldest client worlds requested a formal review of its status. The species had served the Dominion for centuries. They had never questioned authority. Their message was respectful, careful, and calm. They cited interstellar arbitration law, human arbitration law. The Queen's advisors tried to block the request. They sent denials, warnings, reminders of tradition. The client world did not argue. They simply forwarded the request again, this time through a neutral council network. The council accepted it. That had never happened before. The Queen summoned her senior strategists and administrators. The chamber filled with tension instead of confidence. Screens displayed data streams, legal notices, economic forecasts. None of it looked good. "Humans are interfering," one advisor said, indirectly. "They are doing nothing," another replied. "That is the problem." The Queen listened in silence. Her claws rested against the living crystal of her throne, feeling its slow pulse. The Dominion had always relied on control through presence, fleets, authority, ritual. Now control was slipping without resistance. Entire sectors began to realign their trade routes, not away from the Dominion out of rebellion, but toward systems that used human-standard logistics. The difference was efficiency, predictability, trust. No threats were issued. No ultimatums, just options, and options were dangerous. The Queen ordered new infrastructure projects to replace human-supported systems. Engineers worked tirelessly, but progress was slow. Human standards had spread deeply, woven into layers of communication, and exchange the Dominion had never bothered to understand. They had used the tools without learning how they were made. Now the tools were gone. More client species requested reviews. Some did not wait for approval. They cited interstellar precedent and announced transitional self-governance under neutral oversight. Human observers were present, but only as record keepers. They did not command. They did not judge. They documented. The Queen sent an urgent message to a neighboring empire, one as old as her own. The reply came days later. They would not intervene. They could not risk instability. They depended on the same systems now withdrawing from the Dominion. For the first time, the Queen felt something unfamiliar tightening in her chest. Not anger, not fear, isolation. On a human station far from the Dominion's borders, the envoys continued their work. They reviewed petitions, confirmed compliance, and answered questions from younger species who had never been allowed to ask questions before. Humanity did not rush. They had learned long ago that fast change frightened people. Slow change gave them time to choose. A junior human analyst asked one of the envoys, "Are we doing enough?" The envoy looked at the data. "We're doing exactly what we said we would." Weeks passed, then months. The Dominion's economy contracted, not collapsed, contracted. It grew smaller, tighter, less flexible. Innovation slowed. Talent migrated quietly to neutral worlds where opportunity was open. The Queen tried to address her people. She spoke of tradition, of unity, of resilience. The words echoed in empty ways. Too many citizens had seen alternatives now. Once you see another path, it is hard to pretend it does not exist. The Queen finally requested a direct channel. The same human envoy appeared on her screen. He looked older but no different in posture or tone. "This is not what you offered," she said. "It is exactly what we offered," he replied gently. "We offered cooperation, you declined, we withdrew. You are dismantling my empire." "We are not touching it," he said. "Your systems are interacting with a wider galaxy that has chosen shared standards. You are free to join at any time." The Queen stared at him. "If I accept now, then nothing changes," he said. "You regain access, your people gain choice, your authority adapts. And if I do not," he paused, "then history continues without you." The channel closed. That night, alone in her chamber, the Queen reviewed ancient records. Stories of past rulers who had believed permanence was guaranteed. They had all fallen not to invasion but to irrelevance. She realized then what humanity truly was, not conquerors, not saviors, a mirror. They reflected systems back at themselves and let them stand or fail on their own logic. The next cycle, another client world announced independence. Peacefully, legally, with human documentation and neutral oversight. The Queen did not stop it. Her advisors noticed. Whispers spread. The Dominion did not fall in fire, it thinned. Authority became symbolic. Borders became suggestions. The Queen remained on her throne, but fewer came to kneel. Years passed. The galaxy adjusted. Humanity did not replace the Dominion. They did not rule its former territories. They ensured transitions, then stepped back. New councils formed. Old species spoke for themselves. Children grew up knowing choice as normal. On her final day of rule, the Queen stood before her empty court. The living crystal dimmed around her. She felt tired but clear. She had not been defeated. She had been outgrown. Far away, a human archive recorded the end of the Viorlian Dominion's era. The entry was brief, factual, respectful. No celebration followed. Humanity moved on, as it always did. The galaxy remembered the lesson. When humans offered peace, it was not because they were weak. It was because they were already strong enough to walk away. And that was the sentence no empire survived. Time moved forward, as it always did, without asking permission. The galaxy did not mark the passing of the Viorlian Dominion with monuments or mourning. There were no great ceremonies, no songs of victory or loss. Systems adjusted their routes. Councils updated their records. Life continued. Yet beneath that calm surface, something had changed forever. Species that once waited for commands now held discussions. Worlds that had never spoken beyond their assigned role now sent representatives to open forums. Even ancient empires watched more carefully, measuring their words before speaking. And always, quietly present, were the humans. They did not sit at the center of power. They did not claim leadership. They served as observers, facilitators, and record keepers. Their influence was not seen in banners or fleets, but in structure, in process, in the way decisions were made. On a neutral world once classified as a minor resource hub, a council gathered. Representatives from dozens of species sat together, some for the first time. There was tension, uncertainty, and curiosity. A human delegate stood at the edge of the chamber, not elevated, not hidden. "We are not here to lead," she said when asked to speak. "We are here to help you lead yourselves." That idea still felt strange to many. Elsewhere on the former Virelian capital world, the old throne chamber stood silent. The living crystal had stopped growing. Without the constant presence of authority, it had lost its purpose. Maintenance crews moved through the vast halls, repurposing them into archives and public spaces. The queen no longer ruled, but she still lived. She spent her days walking the gardens that once only royalty could enter. Citizens passed her now without kneeling. Some nodded in respect, others simply walked by. She did not stop them. At first, the silence around her had been unbearable. Her entire identity had been tied to command. Without it, she felt empty. But over time, something else took its place: observation. She watched children play without fear of hierarchy. She listened to debates where ideas mattered more than age. She read records from worlds that had chosen paths different from the one she had enforced. One evening, she received a visitor. A human historian requested permission to speak. The queen considered refusing. Then she remembered how refusal had once shaped everything. She agreed. They walked together through the gardens. The human spoke carefully, respectfully. "We are documenting the transition," the historian said, "not to judge, to remember." The queen looked at the sky where ships now traveled freely without dominion markings. "History will not be kind to me." The human shook her head. "History is rarely kind. But it can be honest." They sat on a stone bench grown long ago for rulers who never imagined sharing it. "You offered me peace," the queen said quietly. "I thought it was weakness." The human smiled softly. "Most do. And yet you never returned to claim what you dismantled." "We didn't dismantle it," the human replied. "We removed ourselves from holding it together." The queen understood then. She had ruled by pressure. Humanity had ruled by gravity. After the historian left, the queen remained alone. For the first time, she felt something close to relief. Far beyond that world, humanity faced its own challenges. Not all species welcomed change. Some resisted. Some accused humans of manipulation. Councils debated whether humanity's quiet influence was too strong. Human leaders listened. They adjusted systems, increased transparency, invited oversight. They knew power, once unexamined, always became dangerous. A young species once under the dominion sent a message to Earth. "We want to build like you," they said. "But we are afraid of losing ourselves." The reply came quickly. "Then don't build like us," the human response said. "Build like you, we will help if asked." That message spread. It became a saying. Years passed. Children born after the Dominion's end grew up hearing stories of a queen who ruled everything and lost it without a battle. They struggled to understand how something so vast could disappear so quietly. Teachers explained it simply. It stopped fitting the world. Humanity continued expanding, but slowly, carefully. They learned when to step forward and when to step back. Mistakes were made. Lessons were learned. They never forgot the first peace offer that had been rejected, not because of anger, because of responsibility. On the day the queen died, there was no announcement. A small notice appeared in the public record. Her life was summarized in a single, balanced entry: ruler, reformer, witness. The human historian added one final line: "She taught the galaxy the cost of refusing choice." The galaxy did not cheer, it remembered, and somewhere far from thrones and councils, a human child looked up at the stars and asked a simple question. "Why do they listen to us?" An elder answered just as simply: "Because we listen first." And that was how humanity endured, not through force, not through fear, but through the quiet strength to walk away and the wisdom to know when not to. The galaxy did not stay quiet forever. Change never stops moving, even when people believe it has reached a stable point. New generations grew up under systems built with choice, discussion, and shared rules. For many worlds, this felt normal. For others, it felt dangerous. Some ancient empires began to feel uneasy. They had watched the fall of the Virelian dominion from a distance. They told themselves it was unique, a mistake made by one ruler, but deep inside they knew the truth was wider than that. The same structures that weakened the dominion existed in their own systems: dependence, old authority, silence instead of consent. So they began to test humanity, not with war or threats, but with pressure. Trade restrictions appeared, diplomatic talks slowed. Invitations were delayed or canceled. It was subtle, careful, and meant to send a message. Humanity noticed. They always did. On Earth, councils met not behind closed doors but openly. Citizens watched, listened, and questioned. Human leaders spoke plainly. "They are afraid," one representative said, "and fear makes people push instead of talk." "So what do we do?" another asked. "We do what we always do," came the reply. "We keep the door open." Messages were sent across the stars, calm, clear, patient. "We are not changing the rules," the humans said. "We are following them." Some empires grew more nervous, others felt relief. A mid-level power, old but not ancient, requested a formal dialogue. They feared losing influence. They feared becoming irrelevant. The human delegates arrived without ceremony. The discussion lasted many cycles. There were disagreements, moments of frustration, and long silences. But no one walked away. When it ended, nothing dramatic happened. That alone was shocking. The empire remained intact. Their culture remained respected. But their systems shifted slightly, more transparency. More shared decision-making, less fear of asking questions. Word spread, not everything improved, some worlds struggled, choice was difficult, freedom required responsibility, mistakes happened. Humans did not hide this, they recorded failures openly. They adjusted systems publicly, they admitted when they were wrong. That honesty became their strongest influence. Far from Earth on a quiet archive world, historians gathered. They studied the last century of galactic change. One truth stood out again and again. Humanity did not win by pushing. They won by refusing to trap others. A young historian asked, "Did they plan this?" An older one answered, "They planned for possibility, not control." Meanwhile, the former Virelian capital became a center for learning. The throne chamber was now a hall of history. Visitors walked where rulers once stood alone. A statue stood near the entrance. Not of the queen as a ruler, but as a thinker looking outward instead of down. Its plaque was simple. "She learned too late, but she learned." Children from many species visited the hall. They asked guides what the statue meant. "It reminds us," the guide said, "that power without listening does not last." Humanity never claimed credit. They never asked for monuments. They kept moving forward, careful not to run too far ahead of those willing to walk with them. Some species still refused. Some still clung to old ways. Humanity allowed that too. Choice meant allowing refusal, and that more than anything made the galaxy trust them. Because they did not force the future, they made room for it. And in that space, civilizations learned how to stand on their own. That was the quiet legacy humanity left among the stars.